Welcome to the Total Country Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Total Country Podcast. My name's Kevin Angel and thanks for joining me. My guest today needs no introduction. It's the Grammy, CMA, ACM and Inspirational Country Music Awards recognised artist, Josh Turner. Josh was over in the UK for the first time last year for a sold-out tour, culminating in a headline slot at the Long Road Festival in Leicestershire. He was one of the youngest members to be inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. He's had smash hits with songs such as Your Man, Hometown Girl and Why Don't We Just Dance. He's sold 8.5 million units worldwide and clocked up 2.5 billion in global streaming. He's just released his 8th studio album, Country State of Mind, which is a brilliant 12-track collection of classic country covers, with Josh accompanied by some truly great guests. Josh is such a lovely, personable guy, as you'll hear, so I'm going to stop talking. I hope you enjoy this one. This is my sit down with Josh Turner. So I am joined by Josh Turner now. Josh, how are you? How are things?
I'm good. Staying busy.
Good. How have things been for you? You just mentioned before we started recording that you've just actually played a show for the first time in like 5 months. That must have been strange.
Yeah, it was a little strange and it was exciting all at the same time. I haven't taken more than a month off in almost 20 years. So, you know how it is. You get accustomed to a certain way of doing things and a certain way of life. And then all of a sudden you're forced to, stay at home and you're not allowed to go play a show. It's a big adjustment. I've found ways to stay occupied and stay busy and stay productive, but not being on stage in front of a crowd, I think it just kind of left a gaping hole in my heart. And to be able to go out and play a show this past Monday, it was just so good for my soul to be able to go out there and interact with my fans again. It just felt really good. And I think it was good for them too, to be able to go and see some live entertainment, for the first time in a long time. And so I think that's, it was kind of a glimpse for me to kind of see. It's like, okay, we all need to kind of get back to living our life and, play it safe, but there's ways you can do it.
Did you get a bit of an adrenaline rush that perhaps maybe might have missed out on, since, it's almost a novelty playing again?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. It's funny. I can sit around the house and play songs, on my guitar all day long, but it doesn't replace going out in front of a crowd and playing, something. So it's a one of a kind experience. And that's exactly why I chased this dream in the beginning. I played my first country song in front of a crowd when I was 13 years old. And the response that I got from the crowd, it changed me. It was something that I'd never experienced before. And it was something that I knew that I wanted to experience again and again and again. And so here I am, 42 years old, still can't get enough of it.
How have you been keeping busy during the downtime then? I know you've got quite a few children, so have they been keeping you busy?
Yeah, where do I start? We actually, March of last year, we were forced to move out of our house because we had a lot of mold.
Oh, no.
And we basically had to rebuild our house. It was not a pleasant experience, but it was something that had to be done.
Yeah.
And so we were forced to, basically we had to live in my writer's cottage where I do all my writing. And so my house was taken from me. My place to write in was kind of taken from me because we had to live in it. I'm glad we had a place to live, but with all of that said, it was cool for me to be able to sit down and start working on a record that didn't require me to write. And and not only that, but it's a record unlike anything I've made before, and it was a fun record for me because I got to go in and record songs, country songs that I've loved most of my life. And so I just felt like God's timing was right on all of this. And so I've been working on the record, working on the packaging, putting my house back together, taking care of my family, my children, and I've started back writing towards my next project. So there's been plenty of stuff for me to do. It's like I say, just not none of it really has been making me any money though.
We'll talk about the new record in a little bit, but you're over in the UK last September for the Long Road, which feels like, it was only a year ago nearly, but it feels like forever. Talk to me about your first experience in the UK.
Oh, it was incredible. I didn't really know what to expect. I had been prepared for the fact that, English fans, they're not going to respond like your regular fans. They're going to be real reserved. And, if they don't applaud or if they don't, jump up and down and start dancing and all that, it doesn't mean that they don't like you. It's just that they're really listening and all this. And so that's what I had been prepared for. And so I go over there and I'm nervous about this. I'm thinking, I hope I don't take this personally. I'm hoping they'll respond better than what I've been prepared for. And so I go to play my first show at Union Chapel, and it's a sold out show. And I was like, okay, that's a good sign. It's sold out. So, these people want to hear me apparently. And so I get introduced, and before I even make it to the mic stand, people are, standing, they're cheering, they're throwing babies in the air. It was incredible, and it never stopped from that point on. Like the crowd was so into it. They were so excited. They just made me feel right at home. And I had the same exact experience in Manchester and at the Long Road Festival. And I went and did, a lot of stuff for radio during that week. And it was just a great first impression. I had a ball. The fans were incredible.
So you'll come back and we haven't scared you away?
Absolutely.
Your last album, I Serve Your Saviour, which was an album of faith songs, did really well for you, didn't it? Now, you're on to album number 8. In this industry, it can be difficult to get 2 or 3 albums out. You must feel so blessed to be nearing double digits, especially in, the production factory that is Nashville. Yeah,
I'm very blessed and very thankful for what I've been able to do and what I've been allowed to do. And, my fans have been incredible. They've been very supportive throughout my whole career. And, it's been telling too, because between my Punching Bag record and my Deep South record, there was a span of like 5 years where I didn't get a record out. And I was, pretty nervous because we were just struggling to get things pulled together. And I was going through a lot of changes. I had changed producers and my label went through a merger and, just a lot of crazy stuff going on. And, but, when the Deep South record came out and, even beyond that with the I Serve a Savior record. And I had a number 1 song with Hometown Girl and like I say, the fans, radio, my label, the industry, they've just been very supportive, throughout my career. So I'm very thankful.
Do you still enjoy putting albums together? Is that still something you get a buzz out of?
Oh yeah. That's one of my favorite parts of my job is the creative process. Being able to see a song kind of come to life and putting the packaging together and all that. It's hard work. I won't lie, but. And it's time consuming, but yeah, it's fun to see all that come together.
And now you're a bit of a seasoned pro. Does it still come with the nerves? Like the album is out at the time of recording in a couple of days. Do you still get the nerves on how people are going to respond to it?
Oh, absolutely. You never know what people are going to think, but I know that at the end of the day, I've done the best job that I possibly could have done. I put a lot of heart and soul into it. I left no stone unturned. Obviously not everything is going to work out, the way you want it to, but you do your best and try to control what you can, and everything that you can't control, you just, let the Lord take care of all of that. And, it's been fun, to be able to do a record of my favorite country songs and bring in artists that I love and respect and that are extremely talented in their own right. It's been a dream project for me.
So let's talk about it then. So the album's called Country State of Mind. It's what I would call it's a proper country record. So good. There's some incredible music coming out of Nashville right now, but I think it really stands out because you've managed to bring like a fresh sound to some classic country cuts, which I'm sure some people will know. Talk to me about the idea to put this album out, how it came together, and why you felt now was the time to do this.
My manager and I, we were kicking the idea around last summer, actually, in 2019. Yeah. And we, at the time, we didn't know if the label would go for it or not, but we ran it by them, and they loved the idea. They knew that they could trust me with, pretty much any record, and especially a record like this. And so the first song that came to my mind was the Vern Gosdin song, I Can Tell by the Way You Dance. I've always felt like that song was very timeless, but it was just kind of bogged down in that 80s production. And I've just been wanting for so long to kind of reinvent, this song, give it a rebirth. And so we did that, and it turned out incredibly. I feel like it could be a hit in today's climate. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, doing songs that I've always loved, like John Anderson's I've Got It Made, Keith Whitley's I'm No Stranger to the Rain, Alan Jackson's Midnight in Montgomery, stuff like that I've just always wanted to kind of do my own version of. Yeah.
I think it's a real testament to a good song, isn't it? That some of the songs go back to like the 40s and they sound like they could be written now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I owe a lot of that to my producer, Kenny Greenberg. He's just a great musician. First of all, he's a great producer, but he's just a fan of good music, no matter what genre it is. And he has a way of making things just sound cool, no matter, what they are. And, so he doesn't really come from a country background like I do, but I think that's why he and I work together so well, is because he and I are coming at it from two different perspectives, and we meet in the middle, and it's worked for the last 3 records, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. When putting together, we'll call it a classic country album, you could have easily gone down the route of putting 12 big tracks together, really predictable, but give or take a few, that's really much the complete opposite of what you've done, really, isn't it? Was it difficult to put together a selection of tracks that you were really happy with and just, dwindle it down to 12 or so?
Yeah, it was hard. And I even said in my album liner notes that this is by no means a comprehensive list. I mean, I could have easily, 5 more records just like this, because there's so many songs to choose from country music history. And so, yeah, narrowing it down to 12 was kind of a challenge, but I kind of started with a couple of templates. One was I wanted to make sure that I had songs from what I consider my Mount Rushmore of country music, which is Randy Travis, John Anderson, Johnny Cash, Vern Gosdin, and Hank Williams. So I needed to make sure that I had those 5 guys covered. And then beyond that, I looked at artists that I had never done a cover of. And, so that excluded, several artists. And so I started looking at the Keith Whitleys and the Alan Jacksons and the Patty Loveless and George Strait, stuff like that I felt like, country music critics would be like, okay, yeah, this song deserves to be on here. This artist's song deserves to be on here. And so I just, like I say, I tried to look at it from a lot of different perspectives. And I also looked at it too from like, I didn't want it to just be entertaining, but I wanted it to be educational, if you will, informative. I wanted to introduce my younger fans to artists that they may not know, songs that they may not know. I mean, the Hank Williams song and the Johnny Cash song are 2 songs that I think most people aren't very familiar with. So
yeah, I was listening to it earlier, actually, and although it's all cover songs, when you listen to it from start to finish, it sounds like you almost wouldn't know they're from different albums and things. It feels like a complete album. It just flies through. Was that intentional, that you wanted it to sit as a complete body of work rather than just something that you dip in and out of?
Well, thank you. First of all, that's a compliment. And Yeah, I think I did want it to flow like that. I mean, it's these are all songs that have a special place in my heart. Country State of Mind has always been one of my favorite country songs. Why Me by Chris Christopherson. I love all of Chris's work, but I just felt like, Why Me would be the song that people would find believable coming from me out of all of Chris's songs. And then songs like I say, I'm No Stranger to the Rain, I've Got It Made, stuff like that. I Can Tell by the Way You Dance. Those are songs that I've loved for, most of my life. And then, you got songs like Desperately, that kind of pays homage not only to George Strait, but to Bruce Robinson, who wrote it and who's an artist in his own right. Bruce's version is actually the first version I remember hearing when I was in college, and have been a huge fan of Bruce's for a long time. And, I felt like the album wouldn't be complete without a George Strait song because of all of the contributions that he's made to country music. So it was kind of a way for me to kind of kill two birds with one stone. And then Good Old Boys by Waylon Jennings. I felt like I wanted to find a song that even non-country music fans would recognize. And so when I started thinking about that, I was like, okay, the first thing that came to my mind was TV. It's like, okay, is there a country song from TV that people of all walks of life would remember or recognize? And the first thing I thought of was the Dukes of Hazzard and Good Old Boys. And I said, man, I love Waylon Jennings. I love Dukes of Hazzard. I love this song. And so I basically took the TV version and Waylon's recorded version and basically kind of made one song out of the two. And so it's a comprehensive, a consolidated version, if you will, of the two versions. So, and I don't know if anybody's ever done, a mixture of the two like this or not, but I did.
And you've touched on a couple of people, but the album is packed with guests, isn't it? So, I mean, off the top of my head, you've got Chris Christopherson, you've got Randy Travis, Runaway June, Maddie and Tay, and Chris Jansen, obviously, you can't forget, who can do no wrong in my eyes. Was it a conscious decision to put like legends with current artists? Because you create like a real crowd pleaser album then, don't you?
Yeah, I didn't want to just invite established artists. I wanted to find some of the new crop that I felt like kind of met my standards, so to speak. I was looking for not only talented artists, but I was also looking for artists who, appreciated country music and where it came from, traditional country music. And then beyond that, they're just genuinely good people. And I just love being around them. I've played shows with Chris and the Runaway June Girls and Maddie and Tay. And I've just, enjoyed just being around them. And so, and they're, like I say, they've had success of their own. Maddie and Tay is actually celebrating the #1 this week.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's been great.
And they're massive they're really popular, both Runaway June and Maddie and Tay in the UK. Big following. Yeah. So you've got Randy Travis on the record as well. Now, that's the first time he's been in the studio since 2013, isn't it? And I believe he's actually the reason you got into country. Is that right?
Yeah. He was my big hero who inspired me to just up and leave everything I knew and was familiar with and chase a dream that wasn't really guaranteed to me. And so I owe him a lot for inspiring me to do something that crazy. And I've become friends with Randy and his wife, Mary. We've been friends for a long time. And I just asked him to come in to sing on this song because of the nature of the record and because we're friends and because he's a country music icon. And then, he gets in there and he gets in the vocal booth and he's taking a few passes at it. And I'm standing beside Mary and I look over and she's got tears streaming down her cheeks. And I put my arm around her and I said, "Is this the first time Randy's been in the studio since the stroke?" And she just nodded her head, yeah. And so I gave her a big hug. And that was when I realized that what kind of moment it was. It was a historical moment, first of all, but then, beyond that, it was just very emotional, very bittersweet. And, it wasn't the reason why I had him in there. I don't think it would have meant as much had I gone at it that way.
Yeah. And you were on Bobby Bones' show, was it last week, with him? And if people haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. They need to go and check it out. It's just you and Randy, and he just does the last line of the song, and it's pretty emotional, isn't it? I don't know how you dealt with being there.
Yeah, he's incredible. I tell people too, based on what he's been through, I know he only sings one word in the song, but that one word says so much.
Yeah, and, you can really feel it in that version as well. Yeah,
people say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, that one word is worth 1,000 pictures. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, and the album closes off with a Johnny Cash track that you mentioned earlier, "The Caretaker." Now, I saw on Google earlier, I don't know if this is true because you never believe everything on there. Did you randomly knock on his door when you were at university?
Yeah, I did.
Was that after a couple of beers or?
No. I had been reading his autobiography, and I found out about the neurological disorder that he had been diagnosed with. And I'm sitting there thinking, as a starving college student, as a aspiring country artist and a huge country music fan, I'm sitting there thinking, like, if Johnny Cash dies and I don't get to meet him, I'm just going to be extremely disappointed. I'm just going to be heartbroken. And so I started out on this plan of like trying to figure out a way for me to meet him. And so a friend of mine came across his home address. and it's still, to this day, it's still funny for me to tell this story because it's like, oh my gosh, like why did I do this? And so I didn't know what to expect, so I loaded up my guitar and his book and all of his records in case he wanted to sign everything and blah blah blah. I took my camera and it's like crazy fan. And this was back before we had GPSs and everything, so I got lost a couple of times before I finally found the place. And by the time I found it, it was complete. It was nighttime. It was dark, and so that made me nervous. And when I finally find the house, the gates just wide open. And I was like, well, I'll just drive on in. So I drove in. There's a couple of SUVs in the driveway, and I pull up and park and go up to the door, and I knock, and nobody comes. And I knock again, still no answer. Lights are on in the house. So I was like, well, maybe I'm at the wrong door. So I walk around the corner, and it's just pitch black dark around the corner. I said, I think I'll stay over here in the light. And so I went back, and I knocked really hard on the door. And there's this stained glass window to the side of the door, and I could see a painting of June on the wall. And I'm like, okay, this has got to be the place. So I knock really hard, and I hear this voice from the depths of the house saying, coming, coming. And so my heart just starts fluttering, and I see the doorknob turn, and the door opens, and there stands Johnny Cash. And
wow.
He and I both flinched because we didn't expect to see each other. and he's wearing reading glasses. His hair's kind of messed up. He's got a long sleeve denim shirt on, kind of half buttoned, and he's got this gold chain on with a cross on it, and he's got bedroom shoes on. And so I introduced myself. I reach out my hand and shake his hand. And so I said, Mr. Cash, I'm Josh Turner. I'm from South Carolina, and I'm a student at Belmont University, and just went through this whole spiel of who I was and why I was there, and told him about, reading his book, and just, told him that I was praying for him and wishing, for him the best, and hope that he recovers from all of it, and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm just, rattling on for like 90 miles a minute. And so finally I had to stop and catch my breath. And I said, and my heart's about to beat out of my chest. And he started laughing at me and said, well, we're all human. And so I just told him how big of a fan I was and how much he had meant to me and all that. And so he reached out and shook my hand, and he said, well, I appreciate, your kind words. He said, I'm going to go back in and rest now. And I said, I understand. And so he shuts the door, and when he does, I start to walk back to my truck, and I'm just like weeping. just falling. Like I could not believe that had just happened. And I mean, what are the chances of me driving up there, the gate being open, and then Johnny Cash himself answering the door? I mean, I tell people it was a divine appointment. It's like God intended for me to meet him that day, because the day I woke up, the day he died, I woke up that morning and found out that he had died. And I was so thankful that I took the risk and had the courage to drive up there and do that, because that's the one and only opportunity I ever had to meet Johnny Cash. So
that's incredible. That's incredible. Last couple of questions then for you, Josh. As someone who obviously respects the legacy and history of country music so much, what do you think generally about the direction Nashville is taking currently? You can be diplomatic if you want.
Well, honestly, I will say I kind of dip in and out of paying attention. Sometimes I pay attention, sometimes I don't. So I can't really tell you, who's on the charts right now. Honestly, I do know that Maddie and Tay had a number one this week. But I have so many other things going on in my life that it's kind of hard to pay attention to what's really going on in the new stuff. And especially when I don't have a song on the chart myself, it's hard to pay attention and keep up with who's who. But yeah, that's about as good an answer as I can give you right now.
Honest. So I end all interviews with the same two questions. Everyone likes them because they're about food and drink. So if you could only have one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Wow. For the rest of my life, I have to, it depends on what age I am. If I know I don't have much longer, it'll be something unhealthy. Right now, wow. I'm going to have to say, so I'm a big hunter, and I killed my first elk years ago, and my wife made some elk lasagna, and it's probably one of the best things I've ever put in my mouth. So probably that elk lasagna and some good salad to go along with it, and some sweet tea. So
lasagna is such a popular answer wherever in the world. Some form of pasta. Food, I guess. And one drink.
Wow. Outside of water?
Outside of water.
Yeah. That's a darn good question. I have no idea. I'm just going to say coffee.
That would do.
Which is probably not a good answer. You can only drink so much coffee.
Yeah, but it's a good all-rounder, isn't it? It's an all-day drink. It's an all-day drink.
Yeah.
Gosh, best of luck with the album. I'm sure you won't need it, and hopefully we'll see you back in the UK. Well, as soon as we're allowed.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Can't wait.
Perfect.
Josh Turner there. What a guy. Just a consummate professional all around. And thanks to Chris Hewlett from Chris Hewlett PR for arranging that one for me. Josh Turner's new album, Country State of Mind, is out now to buy and stream in all the usual places. It's honestly so good. I really recommend it. If you do like the podcast, please do like, subscribe, give a review, all that stuff. That would be muchly appreciated. You can find the show on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and if you want to contact me, please pop an email to totalcountrypod@gmail.com. In my next episode, I'm excited to introduce you to a brand new UK country act. Like I said, he's super new to the scene, but already doing exciting stuff. His debut single, If You Need Someone to Love You, is out now. I'll be joined by a chap named Mitchell Kersley. Join me for this one, as I guarantee you'll love him. You've been great. I've been Kevin Angel. Thanks for joining me. Stay safe. Keep it country. Until next time. Bye for now.